Remember when it seemed like suddenly everybody was getting a peanut allergy and you thought to yourself, hey, when I was a kid, nobody I knew had a peanut allergy. Why everybody now? This is Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green. This episode of Right Angle is brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com. And gentlemen, there has been a landmark study that finally confirms what most of us suspected. The reason why in our childhood, we didn't know anybody who had peanut allergies, and then all of a sudden it seemed like every kid had a peanut allergy. It's not really, it's not inaccurate. In fact, by the year 2019, it was estimated that 1 in 18 U.S. children had a peanut allergy. 1 in 18. It seems that back in about 2000, health officials published, there was a paper published that said you should, kids that are vulnerable to allergies should avoid peanuts at least until the age of 3. Well, pediatricians and parents, Steve, got a hold of this information and said, oh, well, how do you tell whether your kid has a high risk of allergies? It's probably just better to avoid peanuts. So we're just not going to feed peanut butter to our kids. And as a result, it became a more general philosophy of keeping peanuts and peanut butter away from toddlers. Steve, in early 2000s, doctors started to realize that they had made a mistake because there's this crazy thing about the immune system, Steve. If you blindside it with something it's never faced before, later in life, it has a hard time dealing with it.
Yeah.
And
it needs to learn.
Thus, the surge in peanut allergies from 2005 to 2014, emergency room visits for peanut reactions tripled. It was about 2009 when federal health officials started to realize that their advice had been wrong, but it took them a while to get a report out. They finally released a report that said, you should introduce peanuts to your children at a very young age. Over the last 10 years or so, Steve, peanut allergies among children have dropped by about 40%, and it seems like they're on the way further down. Now, Steve, the only reason I bring this up is because our gut instinct told us something's wrong here, because peanuts haven't changed. How have kids changed? What does it say about the people's willingness to go along with government recommendations, and frankly, just people's eagerness to kind of panic on behalf of their children and guard and protect them from things like this?
You know, the first thing you made me think of, and I will get around to your question as I always do, but the first thing you made me think of is California Democrats like Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris, who are very successful in California, don't do very well when they hit the national stage because they have come up in what's essentially a germ-free environment, if you consider Republicans to be germs, which of course they do. And so they're basically the boy in the bubble set loose his first day outside of the bubble in a Wuhan lab. They cannot cope. They are unprepared. Their immune systems have no way of dealing with any of this. And what gets me here, and we've seen this before, I hope we won't see it again, but it's not much of a hope. When the medical profession just chooses to ignore thousands of years of human experience, chooses to ignore what your grandmother knew in pursuit of some perfect knowledge. Oh, well, there's a thing we're going to forget what you know. We're just going to... And then it ends up hurting people, and in some cases badly. If these kids were transported, these kids from 2005 to 2020, whatever it was, if you transported them to my lunchroom in third grade, they'd be dropping like flies.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, you had a follow-up there?
No. Sorry.
No. Okay.
I thought you were done.
And as you said, the peanuts didn't change. They've always been there. There is... As a species, we've been around for a very long time, and it isn't like we haven't managed to thrive. We're everywhere. Not only did we spread out from Africa to every corner, but we've got outposts in Antarctica, we've got submarines going down hundreds of feet, and we've got a space station in orbit that's been permanently inhabited by human beings for over 20 years now. We are everywhere. We're good at this. And this idea that it's progress to throw away thousands of years of accumulated wisdom is just absolutely absurd. And in this case, Scott, it got kids killed.
Bill Whittle, there was a chief allergist or an attending allergist at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. He's a senior author in the study, and he said if we had been able to report that allergy levels had plateaued, that would have been huge news. Amazing news. However, in the study published Monday in the Journal of Pediatrics, this past Monday, the 20th of October, it found that peanut allergy rates in children under the age of 3 dropped by roughly 43% after the recommendations were made in 2017 to start introducing peanuts to your children. By the way, all food allergies dropped by about 36%. Are we getting any smarter?
Well, let me start by saying this. Peanut butter is the moral and spiritual cement that builds this country and maintains it on a daily basis.
Amen.
And if more young people would walk around their neighborhoods at sunset with a large spoonful of Skippy Super Chunk in their mouth and take about a half an hour to finish that off, right, this whole trans thing would never have happened. We wouldn't have a Bud Light. You look at Dylan Mulvaney and you can say immediately that is a peanut butter deprived child.
That's right. Deficiency.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's absolutely clear, and we see it on a much larger scale. It's not just peanut butter, obviously. It's been known this whole time that these kids that grow up in like New York skyscrapers where everything has got a bacterial wipe and you're sanitizing your hands all the time, these kids get all kinds of allergies, and farm kids never get any because their immune systems know the difference between a pathogen and their own tissues. So it's not hyperbole to say that if you want healthy kids, I know this is hard for liberal parents to understand, but seriously, if you want healthy kids, just get the hose out and just spray underneath some of the bushes in the backyard. Let them go out and make mud pies and have them eat a few, and they will grow up to be strapping young lads and absolutely gorgeous young damsels, because that's how it learns. Steve's exactly right. Your immune system is like any other muscle. The more exercise it gets, the more it learns. And when you think about the damage that's been done to the human animal by really smart people who don't know anything, like Dr. Spock, for example, and this whole idea of this idea that you can rationally and logically and philosophically invoke Plato with a 3-year-old who's trying to steal cookies. It's just plain. It's rank idiocracy. So I am very happy to see this turnaround. I was at Five Guys yesterday, and they have those big boxes of roasted peanuts. That's the main reason I go to Texas Roadhouse. Yeah. And I was loading up on those things by the the frickin' shovelful, and I'm thinking they can take my peanuts from my cold dead hands easy. Yeah, I'm actually genuinely terrifically glad to hear it, because I was looking at this and thinking, somebody's going to come in and complain about this, and it's like, well, go someplace where they have almonds then. But the main thing is, it means that entire generations of Americans will be reintroduced to the joys of this magical food. And if you get a hold of some strawberry preserves and some really doughy white bread, Wonder Bread will be just fine. You are in for a life of luxury and leisure, my friend.
Indeed. Hey, Scott, can I throw in one last thing? I saw a study, and I think this actually predates the whole peanut allergy scare, that showed that kids raised in families that had 2 or more pets, those kids had 80% fewer allergies.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's everything we needed to know about this.
And ideally, you want those pets to have like the run of the woods, get them out in nature as much as possible, get them, filthed up as much as you possibly can. And it's funny because my first thought was, and I feel bad for the kids for whom this is too late, but think of the children who will be freed from the gulag of the special table in the cafeteria. But I couldn't believe when I used to work for a school system years ago, and you would go around and there was like this table that was the peanut allergy table where they'd have to isolate those kids. Now, having grown up in the 60s and 70s, along with 3 brothers in the same household raised by my grandparents, when we got home from school, my grandmother typically had waiting for us a pyramid of peanut butter jelly sandwiches stacked like she literally, it was one of the great 7 wonders of the world, this
Get me some
pyramid
Nestle
shape
Quick and we're good to go.
stack. Yes. We grew up mostly on peanut butter, white bread, and large doses of sugar. We were skinny little boys. And very athletic, very involved in everything. I don't know how we survived, based on what people are saying today about what you shouldn't eat. All I know is Bill is right. Peanut butter is the cement that holds together civilization. But this isn't really the point of all this. The amazing thing to me is how prone we are to panic at suggestions that something might be happening to our children or could be a threat to our children that has never been a threat to our children in the history of the world. And it just reminded me of what my grandfather said that his grandmother used to say, and that was, you have to eat a peck of dirt before you die. And that philosophy, he grew up working on a dairy farm, so he ate a lot of dirt. Some of the time when I was growing up, me and my brothers worked on a hog farm that also had cattle and chickens. And so we were surrounded by filth. And then we spent our days playing in the woods. And the only thing that any of us is allergic to is I have an allergy to a medication, which is kind of an artificial thing. But it just serves to say, don't jump when everybody says jump. And if you see everybody else panicking, that should be your urge to remain calm and just say, okay, so what is the actual data on this? And, a different Mr. Spock might have logic. Mr. Spock, not Dr. Spock, may have used his logical mind to say, wait a minute, how can there suddenly be a tripling of emergency room visits for peanut allergies when people have been eating peanuts practically since the dawn of time?
Well, they were only invented in the 18-somethings.
They were just invented.
They were. George Washington Carver invented the peanut.
Did he invent the peanut, or did he find
he bred it?
Did he find many uses for the peanut?
Oh, maybe. I thought he invented them.
But anyway, it's that just as you're raising children, it's a tough thing to do, and you want to protect your children, and you're afraid of everything. They're literally saying now, between like 4 and 6 months, you should definitely introduce peanuts and eggs and other things to your kids so that they are not isolated from them, so that they do develop immunities to any allergen kind of tendencies. I knew several kids when I was pastor of a church who lived in this in a city, and they had asthma. Like all of a sudden, a whole bunch of kids had asthma, and I'm like, gee, how is that suddenly happening too? And I would just say, if you got kids, get them out there, get them dirty, get them a dog, and give them a big pyramid of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. For Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making Right Angle possible.